Welcome everyone to our second event. This is Rizwan Qureshi. I'm the leader of this community. I'm also founder of Salesforce Champion, that is a learning portal for our community, and we are actively working on it. So, we have an amazing speaker with us today. Asif has years of experience in project management. Now it's time to hear from Asif. Let's give him a big welcome.
So we had our first session that was related to project management, and we discussed a high level stuff from project management, like who they are, what they do, and what are their responsibilities, and what are their roles in different industries. That was very high level. We touched based on everything. So today we are gonna focus on mainly things. So that could be project management framework, project manager framework, or software development process framework. Mainly these two index we are going to touch. All right. So now I'll recap from the last few slides. I have what a project manager or project management framework is, what they do. Basically, they initialize. So initialization means where you start from a project scoping. They write down goals. They intend to define a purpose. They define objectives. Uh, it's a process of analyzing things. It's basically initialization of any task that you are going to proceed with. So initialization is first thing first. Then they plan. How they plan? They break things into work packages. Now work packages could be your stories, your tasks. They establish sequence from task to task. They start preparing project plan. They settle down those milestone within the planning. Even if we talk about costing stuff, we do costing, we plan resources, we plan estimates, we plan, we see, we identify risks uh, that could occur in upcoming projects. So initialization, planning, and then executing. So the third thing is execute. How they execute. Now execution is something of comes after planning. Once you are planned with your task, with your work packages, with your costing, with your looking into meditation, how you're going to handle risks. The third thing is executing. Now, if I have planned what I need to do a development or I need to proceed, obviously, the third thing is assigning those responsibilities from your team, that who is going to do what and who is going to do how. So we execute by carrying out those defined activities. And execution, in within execution, you have a cross-functional team. The team could consist of your developers, QA, designer, BA, product owner, anyone who is associated during execution of a project. So execution is third. Then once the things are in execution, the task is being developed, we need to monitor. So this is one from the framework from project management perspective. Obviously, we need to track a progress against each project plan, what the first one says in here. And there are different certain methodologies, certain process where we use within our PM stuff. There could be different methodologies of monitoring a ongoing tasks. Now, even once I say monitoring and controlling, we will talk about the stand-ups and scrum and all those stuff in after next 5 minutes in more detail. So once that is done, closing. So closing means done. Definition of done. So that means basically you are closing everything, and definition done means that the acceptance criteria which was supposed to meet has been met. Customer is happy, you are happy. You are done with the stuff, the things. Now another part of project management framework is communication. Now communication is key for success within project management stuff. as we work along with the project, we have cross-functional team. In today's world, even we have a remote functional team, sorry, remote teams as well. So how are we gonna know doing? So communicate. We need to establish different communication channels, and it could be any medium we use in today's world. We need to define communication channel, communication pattern, and communicate. Things should be transparent with everyone. Goals and uh, and the level of achievement that you need to achieve should be clearly communicated, and everyone should know what they are doing. Every team member know what their peer they are going to achieve. So communicating things, that's a key for success. It is part of PM framework as well. And risk management. Now, obviously, that's more important. Once we are doing the development, we need to see what would be risks, issues, or dependencies that we can face during a development work. So managing those risks, giving a right and a good approach for a development team or cross-functional team. That's a part of PM stuff that they are going to do. All right, so that's a recap 7 points from what we discussed in first presentation as well. I have just given you a high level of recap. Do we have any question from anyone?
All
All
good,
right,
Nasir.
perfect, great. So my next topic is software development process model. All right, now here, if you could see on right hand side, there is an image which says stage one, two, three, and four and five. Now these are different processes. Now first says planning analysis. If you could look into this process model, it is exactly what is SDLC, software development life cycle. Now it's basically a structured framework with different stages, with different activities, and obviously the tasks are involved during development. The first thing first says stage one, planning and analysis. Stage second, design and development. Stage third, test and modification, maintenance and delivery. So if you compare with the project management framework and STLC, you will see similarities. You will compare, you will find out similarities. The process is similar to what we discussed in project management framework. Here we are talking about software development process. Now, if you look into this model, that will help you. Now, this model will help you to organize and manage your complex processes, and which gives you a roadmap for our cross-functional team, whether it could be the product owner, a developer, or a designer, or a BA, or whatsoever. It gives a process model. Next. All right. Now, this could be interesting for everyone, since I'm going to start from here. Waterfall. Now, if you could see on my right hand side, I got an image. Uh, the waterfall. Now, you need to understand. I will be discussing waterfall. I will be discussing Scrum, Kanban, and other stuff as well on a high level. You need to keep and yeah, you need to listen it deep to understand the differences between all those methodologies, and you will identify. You will make up your mind. You will understand small stuff what differs from one to another. Now, waterfall model is a linear sequential approach where each phase of project must be completed before moving to next. Let's say now you got a task which doesn't need. Now let's say I'll give you one example. Let's say you are building a product which is your own, which is your in-house product or your company's product. Even if you are working as a freelance, you have it, and you need to build, and you understand what needs to be built. So once you understand what needs to be built, it means you are the one who is doing analysis. Or even if you are working with the company knows what needs to be built. So obviously, on this stage, one thing we are on the same page that our analysis is strong enough. If your analysis is strong enough and you know what to do, waterfall is the best model that we can work on. Your analysis should be strong enough to proceed with waterfall methodology. You design, you implement, you test, deploy, and maintain. There is no way back. From implementation. You are going back to design, or from design you are going back to analysis. You are jumping from one stage to another. So you proceed from one to another. third, fourth, fifth, and so on, and you keep moving things. Now, as I said, now each phase should be met. If you are working a product, your analysis is strong, done, your design done, you develop done, test and then move to development and maintain. So each first must be completed before moving to next phase. Just like a water, it keeps on moving in a linear flow. So that's a waterfall methodology, waterfall process that model that you are gonna work. The first thing first, I said your analysis should be strong enough to proceed with waterfall model. And I gave you one example product. Now in product, if you know what you need to build, you are aware of your product, that you will be moving with the AC equation stuff. And one thing you need to understand, there is no change management within this model. Let's say if you're doing a development and you are going to have a functionality change, that's not possible in this model because you have done your analysis in the start. And let's say if I need to build an e-commerce website, or not even e-com, let's say a CMS portal or CMS web, which says there are 4 5 products, and we have under 5 4 5 products we got a subsequent subcategories 6 7 6 7. So we are aware, we are clear what we need to build. There is no much efficiency or much scope that's involved in terms of development. So the scope is limited, and we can cater that in waterfall methodology as well. So let's say if your project is less than 2 months, 3 months, let's say we can assume that we can use waterfall methodology. But if your project is on large scale and you are not sure what could be the outcome, you build, deploy, build, implement, deploy, and then you see a consequence, then in that case waterfall is not right approach. For that purpose, the next thing is agile process. Now agile, this is what you work, you work, deliver, and you proceed incrementally. Agile is a iterative and increment framework that emphasizes flexibility and adaptability. It divides project into small functional increment called iteration, allowing frequent reassessment and adjustment. So as we said, basically agile is a method and we have different processes. Now we got waterfall, scrum, we got lean, XP, hybrid, we got per, we got V shape, many others as well. That's they are different processes, different methods that we are using in agile based. So I'm sure in your normal routine you have heard go agile. So go agile means move on incrementally and see how it happens, how it turns around by the passage of time. So the third is Scrum. I'm sure you guys have heard about Scrum as well. Most of us we are using Scrum in our daily environment. In Pakistan, we work for a long-term projects and big projects, and for that process, we are using a Scrum agile-based methodology. Now, if you look into this image, you'll find a bit complex, but I'll try to explain if you could see. You see here we got a product owner. First, let's understand why we are adopting this Scrum. Let's say we got a project which is say of 1 year time frame, and we need to deliver from scratch. We need to do from scratch till implementation. We'll set up. We will divide those into phases or stages. Stage one, stage two, stage three. I will, let's say, let's not call it stage, let us call it phases, from phase one, two, three, four, and each phase is from 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, and 2 to 4 weeks respectively. And let's say we got a 12 months project. We are aware that what needs to be built, but we need to see where we need to cater changes, where we need to see how things keep moving. In waterfall, we said we need to move sequential way. There is no change request. We handle changes. But in Scrum, yes, we can handle change request. We build something, we demo, deliver, and then we get feedback. We do the changes, finalize those stuff, and then we move on the next sprint. So if you could look into this diagram, it says a product owner. Now, product owner is someone who is responsible, who knows the business, who is giving you a scope, who needs to get things done. Now, product owner could be your customer, it could be someone from your team who is giving you instruction, they know what to do. So next thing, now team. Now this team means like we have a set of team. It could be cross functional team, it could be your business analyst, QA, back end front end development developers, it could be a project manager, PM, it could be a scrum master. So there's a set of team. Now in Scrum, once we do we are working with Scrum, we used to have a Scrum Master even in a process. That's the three things that you are looking into: product owner, teams, and Scrum Master. So working with Scrum, obviously, we plan and we divide things into bits and pieces. We break down those tasks. So now, if you could see 1 to 4, now this is time boxed environment. 1 to 4 weeks sprints. So we know we need to work 1 to 4 weeks, let's say 2 weeks or 3 weeks on a particular task. So for that, we need to have a set of instructions. What to do? So set of instruction goes into your product backlog. If you could see my mouse, product backlog, we know we need to work on those things within 1 to 4 weeks. So if you look product backlogs, now product backlog, obviously we need to have a team meeting, sprint meeting where we discuss what could be a part of backlog in 2, 3, and 4, and so on. So once we set product backlog and we plan our sprint and we say we have now sprint backlog, we start our sprint from 1 to 4. And on the right hand side, you see daily stand up. Now, so in Scrum, we have usually Scrum ceremonies. I'll talk about in few minutes. So we used to see we that's a continuous process of monitoring and controlling what we build. Basically, that focuses on collaborating and accounting changes and within a time box environment. So that's basically a sprint. I'll take you to next slide and then I'll come back so you can understand what is in diagram. Now, as I said, we have Scrum ceremonies. Now, Scrum ceremonies is first thing first, user story refinement, sprint planning, daily stand up, sprint review, sprint retro. Now, these are fundamental of Scrum. User story refinement. Every one of you must have heard user stories. What is user story, sprint planning, daily Scrum? Let's see. User story refinement. What is the purpose of this one? That's basically to prepare stories for team level planning. We need to define backlog of user stories. We need to prioritize user stories. That is what we have in user story refinement. What do we have in sprint planning? Now, within the sprint planning, as a team, they are committed to work on tasks within the sprint. Inputs, we need to be well defined with the user stories, identified risk and dependencies, prioritize backlog for user stories. So as let's say we got a sprint which is 2 week sprint and we need to know what could be risks involved, whether it could be your dependencies, whether it could be your issues, whether it could be your any line of action which needs to be addressed. So that's basically a role of your PM or Scrum Master. They are aware what needs to be planned, what needs to be adhered while doing the sprint planning. Daily stand-ups. I'm sure most of you are doing daily stand-ups as well. Now, what is the significance of having a daily stand-up? As a PM, what I used to do or we used to do, we have a daily stand-ups and we monitor those progress. We see what was done yesterday and what are we going to do today. Do we have any dependencies, issues? So we address those things in daily stand up. We see if there are any barriers, address those things in daily stand ups. So once you are done with those things, now the second last thing is sprint review. Now, sprint review is when you are very close or you are done with your sprints. Let's say you have a 2 week sprint and you are done with the work which was assigned to you within the sprint. So by end of the sprint, we need to review that how much of the percentage, what was the velocity that you have covered so far. So that's a basically sprint review. That's a part of Scrum ceremony as well. And the last thing is sprint retro. Now, let's say you have covered 2 week sprint, you are done with your task, things are covered, and now it's time for release. So, let's say everything went well, you have demoed, delivered, and then as a team, you sit together and you do a retrospective. You see what the things covered, what thing went well, what thing we need to continue, or what is that we need to improve. So it's a review, a sprint review planning, we call it retrospective. So Scrum ceremonies, these are 4 5 key points. That is a basic principle of Scrum ceremonies. And once working with your time box environment, you look into those Scrum ceremonies, and that needs to be in place. Whosoever is working with the Scrum, I'll go back to my first slide looking into this diagram. So if you look into my mouse daily stand up, I hope Now you understand daily stand up, day sprint review, and sprint retro, which is in here. So you got a product owner, you got a cross functional team, and you got a scrum master. Scrum master is responsible to push things on daily basis. He or she, they know a set of instructions they have within in a product backlog or sprint backlog, and they keep on monitoring those things from a time box environment from scratch till implementation within 1 to 4 weeks. And scrum master or even in PM, they are responsible to hold scrum ceremonies. Basically, scrum ceremonies is a part of scrum master's responsibility, which I have discussed a while ago. Now, Kanban. Now, this is the fourth process. First, we talked about waterfall, Agile, Scrum, and Kanban. Now, Kanban is a different structure. Let's say if you have a blackboard, let me see if I have a diagram. Now, you see a whiteboard, you have different task list over here to do, in progress, review. Now, these are basically cards. You see in orange, pink, green, yellow. These are basically cards. You know what to do. Now, this is to do list. You move into in progress, you move then to review, and then done. Now you have different cards in here. Now it's a it's a Kanban is a visual framework that emphasizes continuous delivery and flow. It uses visual boards to represent tasks, limit work, and focus on optimizing efficiency of workflow. Kanban board. Now, if you have, if you could read top point, you will understand. Now, this is something which you work visually. You know, you have a task just like a tray. You get one tray, you move one same tray to on different platform and get your thing done. What could be the example of Kanban? Let's say if you are working with a support ticket, you get to know there is one issue. You take down that issue as to do in your list. You move it into your progress. You do whatever you want to do with the developer, with the fixing of that issue, and review those in your review. Could be your developers review or QA review, and then you implement. So as simple Kanban board. Let's say what Kanban says. What's this is what I have described earlier, to do, in progress, and done. All right. Any questions up till now? All right. Moving ahead. Now, in coming up next model, my plan is to talk about spiral model, V model, rapid action, DevOps, and extreme programming. We are going to do in next. Now, this is what on high level we have given you an overview on Scrum processes, Agile process and Agile methodology, where we have discussed different processes. I have given you a very high level. In next session, we'll deep down into more detail, and I'll give you overview of these five as well. And then next session we will next to next session we will deep down into detail of these five topics.